This may well be my biggest, most ambitious project yet. I've set myself a challenge, a goal, and a time frame within which I aim to make this happen. I, Carl Smith, am going to stay at my desk and edit a video for you guys to watch without getting distracted by cat videos on TikTok. Well, that doesn't actually sound too hard, does it? But in truth, social media addiction is a real thing, and I'm not afraid to admit that this existential crisis rectangle that you see here has begun to control me more than I've been controlling it. It used to be that you'd follow your friends and you'd see your friends' pictures. You'd connect with people that you maybe didn't live nearby, and that helped bring people together. That is simply not the goal of these social media companies anymore. They want your time. The more time you spend on their platform, the more adverts you're going to see, and as a result, the more money they're going to make. The way things seem to be transitioning now from longer videos to short, instant gratification, high impact ones reminds me of when we had a transition from magazines to DVDs. I think there's probably 2 or 3 fishing magazines left in this country, whereas there used to be 15 or so booming publications that were selling 20, 30, 40,000 copies every week. In fact, the Anglian Times, I believe at its peak, was almost 100,000 copies a week. That's a big turnover for a newspaper. These days, it's not the same. I've known Joe for approaching 20 years, and for the bulk of his career in the angling industry, he worked at one of the leading carp fishing magazines. But whilst fishing with him this winter, I learnt that now, video production, social media, and his own personal YouTube channel have become a much bigger focus for him.
Joe, I got one.
Just a few weeks later, and with Joe's transition to YouTube fresh in my mind, I actually met with Carpology magazine themselves. That session was hectic. We caught a load of fish, dialed in my winter carp tactics, and learnt to stay away from crayfish. We also recorded an interview for the magazine, and whilst doing so, we discussed the changing times and the slightly awkward fact that it's YouTubers like me who are partly responsible for the death of so many print media sources. Considering this, it was great to get involved and truly reminded me how nice a magazine or book can be, especially when reading before bed, when you really don't want that blue screen light frying your brain. However, I'm not sure it's as simple as analog good, modern tech bad. And the following week, I was to meet good friend of mine, Scott Lloyd, to confirm this further.
Woo, let's go fishing!
Now, Scott had invited me down to fish with him on a huge park lake, not just to target the giant carp that reside in there, but also to fill me in on his exciting plans. We knew that one bite would be a success on a session on that lake, but the bite never came. Nothing really happened, to be honest, and I think my highlight of the trip was either the curry we had, or it was meeting David Seaman.
Somehow kept out by Seaman.
Of course I was excited to meet this very skilled player, but what I left with was the knowledge that David has used his fame for good, with some incredible charity work for seriously ill young adults. I feel like when we make the right people famous, everyone benefits. Whilst fishing with Scott, he let me know that he actually has plans in the not too distant future to part ways with his tackle sponsor and instead go full-time YouTube and use all of his time and all of his footage and vlogs and stuff that he used to do through a brand on his own independent channel. This is where my feelings about social media begin to get a little complex. Now, I totally believe that most people would feel better and live better lives if they used their phones a little less. However, it's through content made by the likes of Scott that many people are inspired to get outside or discover fishing in the first place. Studies suggest that it's passive consumption of dopamine-ridden short videos which cause the most addiction, whereas a more present or focused experience, like watching a movie or listening to a podcast, seems to be more positive and less likely to lead into addiction. Big day today. We've got meetings about the next year of sponsorship. We've also got a podcast.
Hi there, it's Carl Smith to see the podcast team.
Boom. I always thought I'd hate going to an office. I certainly did when I worked in London at a video production company. But visiting Team Corda is somehow different.
That's ready for the multi-species challenge.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
They've employed such an eclectic mix of individuals, which means I never quite know what I'm going to learn or see. Here we are in the podcast studio. It's incredible the amount of technology needed to make a podcast, you know? 3 different cameras, lighting everywhere, this thing. I don't know what that is. They actually wanted to talk about the pros and cons of social media within fishing. You can't snap your fingers and have a double-page spread in a magazine. But with social media, someone can make a reel on Instagram and suddenly hundreds of thousands, if not millions of eyeballs are on them. No matter who they are, what they look like, where they came from, what their experience is, they can get a voice and they can change the world. During the recording, I realised just how beneficial social media has been to my life, the voice that it's given me, and also the opportunity to make fishing media available to the masses completely for free. However, there are of course drawbacks, one being known as spot burning. This is really quite a tricky topic, especially for me because I'm bang in the middle of it on a few different venues. On one hand, you've got the fact that I want to promote and encourage fishing. I want to help people go out and have the best session they can and catch fish and find new waters. So I want to tell you guys where I'm fishing. But on the other hand, some places, if they're fished by the wrong people, if they are not respected, and if too many people turn up and fish all at once, it doesn't create a good vibe. And if those anglers go down and fish the place, they leave litter, or they, cause drama, don't respect the environment or the people, that is something that I would never want to happen, and I will try my best to avoid happening in the future. I hope this explains why, as my channel has grown, I've sometimes given places new names, like the Mystery Lake or the Forgotten Pond. This isn't a ploy to get views, it's because I've been asked by fishery managers or other anglers to reduce the impact of my videos on these vulnerable locations. It is important though that my films help people, so when I'm not sharing an exact location with you, I'll be doing my best to help you learn or grow as an angler. As I've already mentioned with my friends Joe and Scott, YouTube is becoming a lot more alive when it comes to fishing films. I remember when I started out, Alex and I were one of 3 or maybe 4 fishing channels in the whole of the UK. These days, there's literally thousands. It's hard to say what makes a channel successful, or what type of fishing videos will be popular in a few years from now, but I think every different personality brings a different value. When I consider my collaborations with Snagbro, for example...
Why is it always got to be something with you? Why can't we just do a bit of fishing?
It's clear that people watch and enjoy those guys for the laughs, the banter, and I think the giant pike they catch probably comes secondary. With cameraman Cal, who's now got a successful channel of his own, I don't think they're watching for his elite camera work per se, but instead all the amazing fish that his girlfriend Danny catches. My friend and co-editor of many of these videos is Tom. He's a creative genius, and his attention to atmosphere and capturing an adventure could be seen as a very good reason to watch his content. And as for my own stuff, I'm really not sure. Since day one, I've just loved fishing and filming, and until this whole thing became my job, I didn't really think about what people wanted to watch. More so just what I wanted to do. Either way, fishing on YouTube is definitely changing, and the community is certainly growing and maturing. But for me at least, I've put a lot of emphasis on leveling up the quality of the videos. I've spent most of the money I've earned on cameras, on lenses, on batteries, on trying to make better videos for this channel. But it's interesting that a lot of my thoughts about what makes videos better is maybe a little bit not true. I recently went to Japan, and because it was near the end of the year and I was very, very tired and a little bit burnt out, to be honest, I felt it was a little bit too much and I was quite overwhelmed to go out there with a couple of cameramen and shoot this big, intense production. I just didn't have it in me. I was too tired, run down, and I actually needed a holiday more than I needed a filming trip.
Super long and lean, muscular fish.
But for some reason, me just being there on my own with my little camera, the trip evolved and developed in a way I could never have expected.
What a crazy looking creature.
I grew closer to Japanese locals. I found spots I didn't even plan on visiting. In fact, I kind of threw the plan out the window and instead fully embraced going with the flow. And it kind of worked.
Whilst in Japan, I also didn't have much phone signal, and due to this, I was far more present.
Look at that.
As a result of such a wonderful trip, this film now means quite a lot to me, and I can't wait to share it with you all soon.
Earlier on in this video, I mentioned addiction. And I personally think that social media addiction is something far more prevalent in our society than we really acknowledge. If you're not using it intentionally, potentially it's controlling you more than you think.
I can only really speak about my personal experiences, but during the last couple of years, I found myself scrolling Instagram, TikTok or Facebook a little bit too often. There's definitely elements to this new media which can really help us, but too much can begin to separate you from real life.
The problem, of course, is that algorithms are geared towards trying to keep you on the platform, to keep you consuming, to make you use the app more. And therefore, content like what I'm making today isn't the sort of thing you see very often. The owners of these social media platforms don't want you to be encouraged to put down your phone. It works against what they're trying to achieve. And therefore, I can't do this alone. Other YouTubers like Snagbro, Ginger Fisherman, Tom, Cal, and the many others who I'm associated with and will continue to collaborate with are all going to be working on this together. Collectively, we want one thing: for you to finish watching this video, put down your phone, and go fishing. And if you do, good luck. See you next time.